So our topic is reproduction, and the content would be what is reproduction, what are the terms related to reproduction, and why do organisms reproduce, and what are the modes of reproduction. See, what is reproduction? Reproduction, it's a self-explanatory term where re means again and production means making. In simple language, producing a new individual similar to its kind is called reproduction. That means this rooster and this chicken, they make, they reproduce a new chick. So, individual making a new individual similar to its kind. It's called reproduction. For example, a human is making human babies. That means an individual is making a new individual similar to its kind. Definition: reproduction is defined as biological process in which an organism gives rise to young ones, also called offspring, similar to itself. The offspring grow, mature, and in turn produce a new offspring. That means it's a cyclic process. It's a cyclic process. That means this chick would grow, and after growth, it will become a hen, and this hen can again reproduce to make another chick. Okay. Also with this amoeba reproduce to make two different daughter cells, which in turn can grow. This in turn can grow, and after grow, they can also make two different amoeba cells, similar to the leishmania. So why do organisms reproduce? What is the need of reproduction? As we know, reproduction is highly energy taking process, and it is not essential life process. That means if organism is not doing reproduction, it will not die. It is not this uh, so essential for the living of an individual, but still it is common in every domain of life. Even still, reproduction as a process can observe invariably across all the living forms. And what could be the reason for this? First is organisms have a limited lifespan. They have limited lifespan. Indeed, reproduction is not necessary for the living of, of an individual organism, but for the continuation of a species, it is important. For example, this crow lives for 15 years. Okay, after 15 years, this crow will die. But for the continuation of crow species, this crow must reproduce so that its species will remain continue for the decades of the for upcoming decades. So for the continuation of a species, organism must reproduce. Okay, and second is variation. So variation among individual in a species can originate via reproduction. And if a species has variations, then it will have a higher chance of survival in an ecosystem. So it give a advantage to that specific species. So if variation is high, there will be the higher chance of survival of a species, and this variation can comes with the reproduction. So during reproduction, some differences occurs in the progeny due to mutation or by recombination of genes, and these small differences can lead to the variation in the individual in a species, and this variation increases the chance of a survival of a specific species. For example, this zebra, the Zola zebra with the stripes, with a slightly different stripes. So these are the variants of a zebra, you can say. See, terms related to reproduction. First is parent organism, which actually participate in reproduction. For example, this and this, these are the two parents. And second is sex. So it refers to the biological and physiological characteristics that define the organism as male or female. So it's simply characteristics that define is a male sex, or it's the female sex. And this male and female sex, the two opposite sex, the two opposite parent will reproduce, will meet, reproduce, and make a new individual. What are the gametes? Gametes are reproductive cells which actually participate in the making of new individual. These reproductive cells fuse to make a new individual. For example, this egg cell and this sperm cell, these fuse to make a new individual. Okay, they always contain the half amount of the DNA. They always contain half amount of the DNA because in this way, after they fused, the amount of DNA in the previous generation and in the upcoming generation will remain the same. Will remain the same. Progeny, what is a progeny? Progeny is the new line or generation of species that is produced by reproduction. The previous generation, whereas offspring is a new individual process. See, offspring is a singular term. How? I'm going to explain now. See, let's suppose there are two parents, okay? They reproduce, make five babies, okay? So these five babies are the new generation, which can also categorize as progeny, whereas each and every of this baby will consider as a offspring, okay? Moving on, we have mitosis and meiosis. These are the modes of cell division, and of course, mitosis is an equatorial division in which single cell divides into two new individual cells with identical DNA. For example, a cell will first duplicate its DNA and then divide into two identical cells. This helps in growth and development. Whereas meiosis, also called reductional division, is a single cell divided into four new slightly different cells, and with the half amount of DNA, that means slightly different of cells, and that's why it helps in making of gametes. Gametes are produced by meiosis. Also, a cell divided into two different cells and then into four, in total four different cells with the half amount of DNA, so that the gametes in total, not the gametes is also produced by through meiosis, and slight difference also come in this process because of genetic recombination or linkage or crossing over also. Whereas in mitosis, it's a simple process. Equatorial division, a two cell divided into two identical cells. What are species? These are similar looking organisms that share some set of characteristics and capable of reproducing with each other to produce viable offspring. For example, dog species, these are four members of dog species. You can say they are very similar looking species and they can interbreed or reproduce to make new individual. That's why they is considered as a species. Second, modes of reproduction. There are basically two modes of reproduction. First is asexual and second is sexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction is uniparental. That means a single parent involved. Gametes could be involved or could not be involved. Whereas sexual reproduction is always biparental, whereas opposite sex participate, and this also involves fusion of male and female gametes. It's a more complex way. You can say in sexual reproduction, male and female two opposite sex, biparental. It's a biparental process. Female to meiosis make eggs, male to meiosis make sperm. These two fuses, make fertilization, and then make a new baby. Whereas in the sexual reproduction, a single cell divided into the two different cells. Also, a single parent making daughters. So this is example of yeast, and this is example of yeast, and this is example of amoeba. Okay.